humiliates Sandra Bullock in front of people, Keanu Reeves' reaction appears normal. Sandra Bullock had always loved the charm of old luxury boutiques. There was something about their timeless elegance, the scent of aged leather, and the shimmering chandeliers that transported her to another era. One afternoon, dressed in a simple yet stylish outfit, denim jeans, a white blouse, and sunglasses, she decided to visit Maison Eloise, an exclusive boutique in the heart of Paris. As she stepped inside, the air smelled of expensive perfumes and polished wood. Sandra admired a vintage handbag displayed in a case, but the moment she reached out to ask about it, a sharply dressed store manager, a woman in her 50s with an air of superiority, approached with a condescending smile. "Madam," the manager said in a clipped tone, "I believe this collection may be out of your budget. We have some more affordable selections at the back." Sandra raised an eyebrow, taken aback. "Excuse me?" The manager gave her a patronizing glance. "These items are reserved for our VIP clients, collectors, people of certain means." Her eyes flicked over Sandra's casual attire with undisguised judgment. A few customers in the store turned their heads, watching the scene unfold. Sandra, always one to handle situations with grace, simply smiled. "I see. Then how do you determine who qualifies as a VIP?" Before the manager could answer, the bell above the door chimed. In walked Keanu Reeves, effortlessly cool in a black coat and boots. He noticed Sandra immediately and gave her a warm smile. "Hey, there you are," Keanu said, walking up to her. "Find anything you like." The manager's face went pale. Her posture stiffened as she suddenly recognized who she had just insulted. The boutique fell silent. Sandra turned to Keanu with a shrug. "Apparently, I'm not VIP enough for this place." Keanu looked at the manager, his face neutral. He didn't frown, didn't raise his voice. His reaction seemed almost normal. He simply pulled out his black metal credit card, placed it on the counter, and in the calmest tone said, "We'll take the entire collection." The manager stammered. "Sir, Keanu cut her off with an easy smile, "and please make sure to donate it all to charity. I think there are plenty of people who'd appreciate some fine luxury items." Sandra smirked, suppressing a laugh. The manager turned red, stumbling over apologies, but Keanu had already looped his arm through Sandra's. As they walked out, Keanu leaned in and whispered, "You think I overdid it?" Sandra chuckled. "Nope, that was perfect." Outside, they both burst into laughter, leaving behind a stunned boutique, a speechless manager, and a story that the customers inside would never forget. "Would you like any tweaks or additions?" As Sandra and Keanu walked down the cobblestone streets of Paris, the cool breeze carried the sound of their laughter. The absurdity of the situation still lingered in Sandra's mind. "I swear, Keanu, you have the most effortless way of handling things," she said, shaking her head. Keanu smirked. "You know me. I like to keep things simple." They stopped at a quaint cafe near the Seine, settling into a cozy corner with a view of the river. A waiter recognized them instantly but remained professional, taking their orders with a warm smile. Sandra sipped her espresso, her eyes glinting with mischief. "You know, that manager is probably having the worst day of her career right now." Keanu shrugged. "Well, maybe she learned a lesson. Never judge a book by its cover." Just then, a young woman approached hesitantly. She looked to be in her early 20s, her clothes neat but modest. She clutched a small shopping bag in her hands, her face a mix of excitement and nervousness. "Excuse me, Miss Bullock, Mr. Reeves," she asked softly. Sandra and Keanu turned to her, smiling. "I was in that boutique earlier," the woman continued, "and I just wanted to say, thank you." Sandra tilted her head. "Thank you?" The young woman hesitated before speaking. "I work at a shelter for young women trying to get back on their feet. Some of them have been through really tough times. The boutique just called us. They're donating a huge collection of luxury items, clothes, bags, accessories, all because of what you did." Sandra and Keanu exchanged a look. They hadn't expected their little moment of justice to turn into something bigger. The woman beamed. This means so much to them. Sometimes just having something beautiful, something luxurious, reminds them that they deserve good things too. Sandra felt a warmth spread through her chest. She reached out and squeezed the young woman's hand. "That's wonderful. Please tell them they deserve every bit of it." Keanu nodded. And if they ever need anything else, let us know." The woman's eyes shimmered with gratitude before she excused herself, leaving Sandra and Keanu to process what had just happened. Sandra let out a breath. "You know, I thought that moment in the store was just a bit of fun. But this actually made a difference." Keanu smiled, stirring his coffee. Sometimes the smallest actions have the biggest impact. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the river flow, their hearts a little lighter. Paris had given them a memory they would never forget. As the afternoon sun cast a golden hue over the Parisian streets, Sandra leaned back in her chair, still reflecting on the unexpected impact of their encounter at the boutique. "You know," she mused, tapping her espresso cup, "I've been in this industry long enough to see how people get caught up in status and labels, but moments like this remind me why I never cared about any of that." Keanu chuckled. "Yeah, you've always been that way. Down to earth. Real. That's why people love you, Sandy." She rolled her eyes playfully. "Flattery will get you nowhere, Reeves." Keanu smirked. "Not even an extra croissant." Sandra laughed, shaking her head as the waiter placed a fresh basket of warm pastries on the table. Just as they were about to dig in, a commotion near the cafe entrance caught their attention. A woman looking flustered and out of place stood hesitantly at the doorway. It took Sandra a moment to recognize her. It was the boutique manager. Keanu noticed too. He raised an eyebrow but said nothing, watching as the woman took a deep breath and approached their table. "Mr. Reeves, Miss Bullock, The manager's voice was unsteady, her usual haughty demeanor replaced with something more uncertain. Sandra exchanged a glance with Keanu before setting down her coffee. "Yes." The manager clasped her hands, her expression tense. I wanted to apologize. I was rude and I misjudged you. I've been working in that boutique for years and sometimes I forget that true elegance isn't about appearances. It's about kindness, and you both demonstrated that today." Sandra studied the woman's face. There was no doubt that the manager had been embarrassed, but there was also a sincerity in her tone that made Sandra pause. Keanu, ever the quiet observer, simply nodded. "It's never too late to change," he said simply. The manager swallowed. "Thank you for not making a scene. And thank you for turning my mistake into something good." The charity called back and they were so grateful. It made me realize how much good we can do when we're not just focused on selling to the highest bidder. Sandra smiled gently. "Well, let's just say it was a learning moment for everyone." The manager nodded. "I won't take up any more of your time, but if you ever decide to visit the boutique again, I promise, things will be different." Keanu tilted his head. "Does that mean Sandy finally qualifies as a VIP?" Sandra burst out laughing as the manager's face turned red. Even she couldn't help but chuckle. "Absolutely," the manager said before giving a small bow and walking away, leaving the two friends amused. Sandra reached for a croissant, shaking her head. "You have a way of making people rethink their entire life choices, you know that?" Keanu shrugged, taking a bite of his pastry. "I just let people see things for what they are. The rest is up to them." The two continued their afternoon in Paris, knowing they had not only shared a moment of justice but had also, in their own way, changed a small part of the world, for the better. As the sun dipped lower over Paris, casting a warm glow over the city, Sandra and Keanu wandered along the Seine, enjoying the peaceful atmosphere. The events of the day still played in their minds, but rather than dwelling on them, they simply enjoyed each other's company. "So," Sandra said, looking at Keanu with a smirk, "what's next? Are we going to expose another pretentious boutique, or do you have other superhero duties to attend to?" Keanu chuckled. "I think we've done enough retail justice for one day. But I do have an idea." Sandra raised an eyebrow. "Oh boy, should I be worried?" Keanu pulled out his phone and made a quick call. He spoke in French, arranging something with a calm, effortless confidence. Sandra, though fluent in basic French, could only pick up a few words. "Special request. Quiet place. No publicity." When he hung up, he slipped the phone back into his pocket and gave her a mysterious smile. "Come on," he said, gesturing toward the street. "I called in a little surprise." A sleek black car pulled up moments later, and without questioning, Sandra followed Keanu inside. The driver weaved smoothly through the Parisian streets until they arrived at a secluded private dining terrace overlooking the Eiffel Tower. Sandra's mouth fell open slightly as she took in the view. Soft golden lights, a table elegantly set for two, and not a single photographer or onlooker in sight. "Keanu," she started, shaking her head in disbelief. "I figured after today we deserve to end it with something a little more peaceful," he said casually, pulling out a chair for her. Sandra grinned as she sat down. "You really do know how to turn a day around, don't you?" Keanu took his seat, pouring them each a glass of wine. "It's all about balance, a little chaos, a little kindness, and a little luxury without the attitude." Sandra lifted her glass. "To balance, then." Keanu clinked his glass against hers. "To balance." As the lights of Paris shimmered around them, the two friends shared stories, laughter, and the quiet understanding that sometimes the best moments in life aren't planned, they just happen. And this was one of those moments.